Hi, Paul. Good afternoon.
Afternoon, Mark.
How are you? Are you well?
I'm fine, thanks.
Good, good. I'm just waiting for Felix. He was with us, but we seem to have lost him.
I'm just concerned I get the notes page rather than the other page because I've got two screens up.
Well, you're currently live at the moment, Paul, so
Right.
all of your audience are going to be watching this. So
Okay.
I was just, as I say, there we are. There's Felix. There we go. I'll leave you with Felix.
I didn't realize you'd already jumped into going live. That was the area. Sorry, guys. You were ahead of me. The first person today has actually gone on time without waiting for me. But yeah, thank you very much. Right, everybody. I'm very pleased that we now have Paul Shelton from Altrad. Paul's got a very long career, like myself, ICI. He was an academic for a while. He works for Altrad now. This is going to be different because, again, Altrad, as you know, a lot of what they do is actually really on-site, nitty-gritty work that's, real things that have to be done. And basically, what Paul's going to talk about is how they've actually used digitalization techniques in this really practical, important activity that we all get involved in. So I'll disappear off, Paul, and I'll see you at the end.
All right. Thank you, Felix. All right. I'll put my screen up first. Okay. Is that coming up as the screen show or not my notes?
Yes, it is coming up. It's fine. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Good afternoon, folks. Thanks for attending. I'm Paul Shelton. I'm Head of Technical Authorities at Altrad Services. This presentation is as titled Enhancing Worksite Practice Using Digital Technologies. It's, however, an account of a very radical transformation of a business in a very short period of time. Feels a bit of an anticlimax after Chris's presentation. We were, until recently, somewhere down at level 0, if not below that, in parts. It's about how we've moved up that very slowly. And I have to say, I was reassured by his final comments that it's not always about going from level 0 to level 5. That would have been very difficult in our case. Transformation was carried out against a background of a takeover by Altrad, an overseas-based company. We had an amalgamation of 3 significant players in the sector, Hertel, NSG and Cape. In that time, there were 3 changes of CEO during the period, and then COVID-19 came along and had a profound effect, particularly during the first wave. However, as a business, we were determined to come out of the pandemic stronger than when we went in. Any of the factors that I've described might have proved a crisis to many businesses, if not fatal, but we've come out of the last 2 years more resilient, more efficient, and strangely, given the move to digitalisation, in many ways, a much simpler business. I seem to have not. If you don't know Altrad, apart from the fact we sponsor the French rugby team, as Altrad Services, we work on all of the above types of assets. We're on 66% of the land-based conventional nuclear energy and petrochemical sites in the UK, Nordics and Ireland. We're present on almost all sites in the Tees Valley in the northeast. We're decontaminating the coke oven gas main and other infrastructure at the South Tees site. We work on huge industrial complexes all over the country, and at the other extreme, we maintain local energy from waste sites. We have a considerable presence offshore, especially in the South North Sea, and our environmental services have also a growing presence in Africa and the Far East. We give an integrated offering, the most complete in-house range in the UK, a veritable one-stop shop, which is proving very attractive to many of our customers. Some of it is very basic technically, and some of it is definitely high-end engineering, so we encompass a full range. Delivery of these services was undertaken by a legacy of businesses even before Cape, Hertel and NSG times. So, for example, within the group, we have famous names, businesses like Motherwell Bridge, with different backgrounds, cultures and ways of doing things. Almost all using manual systems or own in-house, often bespoke, all deeply embedded and preciously protected ways of working. Sometimes strength and sometimes not. Okay, that's the sales pitch over. With the amalgamation of the different businesses and new owners looking to how they might get a return on their investment on the acquisitions, we were put under the microscope by Altrad. It became apparent we needed to change the way we did things. Just as above are some of the less than happy examples of both business and technical systems, some originating in the last century and some arguably Dickensian. There was in parts the slowly growing consciousness of concepts like Industry 4.0, but even this wasn't always helpful with our folks. Change, yes, but not more computers and gadgets, and replacing folks with systems was a call that went up. We looked for inspiration from a number of different sources. From the water sector, not obviously high-tech, like ourselves, but making inroads into Industry 4.0 and the Internet of Industrial Things, we learned some useful lessons in how to use integrated systems. We looked at railways, geographically distributed like ourselves. A good example was the traditional semaphore signal or even the coloured light. These are being replaced by signals in the driver's cab. We got pointers from the rail sector in use of Wi-Fi and distributed sensors, and once again the need for integration. From our friends at Fraser Nash, Chris, who just spoke, he came with colleagues and spoke to us, inspiring my colleagues at our own internal digitalisation conference. We owe you one, Chris, it won't be forgotten. And we even had one or two John the Baptist in our own business crying in the wilderness for digitalisation. There were a number of compelling drivers to drag us into the 21st century if we were reluctant to gird up our own loins. We were starting to get hints from customers about digital twins and stuff, especially offshore. They were not looking to have people flying around in helicopters. We needed to manage our own people's safety better, using technology to help people avoid dirty and repetitive tasks. The new build sector was talking about unfamiliar concepts such as BIM. Our folks at Hinkley Point C were picking these up quickly, but the rest of the group needed to understand these new concepts so we could communicate with our own folks. However, what capped it for me was one night in a pub in Leeds following a management conference. In an unguarded moment over a beer, an unnamed finance director admitted to me that he did not know how we made money. That is fine if you're making money. It's deeply troubling if you're not. Knowing we had to go on a journey, knowing we had to find a destination, moving up the levels, we spoke with external folks who suggested they had systems to offer. Several people we spoke to, very reputable, had perfect systems if we were all working in one factory making widgets. Unfortunately, with our distributed business from Shetland in the north to Southampton and Pembroke in the south and west, we did not fit that model. We were also offered wonderful systems that assumed all our employees were spare-time computer systems engineers. Regrettably, perhaps they are not. there seemed to be little in the market for the geographically distributed and technically unsophisticated industrial services sector. This was a cause for concern. If you want to go for a digitalization package off the shelf that fitted your business structure and your culture, where did you go? It didn't seem to exist. On the other hand, it was also reassuring that there was no made-to-measure product, in that it suggested our competitors were in the same boat or even might be behind us. We spoke to our own technical authorities. Our own technical people, when we asked them, often had shopping lists that were long. They were definitely expensive. Some of them were unrealistic. They were very often standalone and sometimes probably illegal. So that helped. We went for the usual 2x2 matrix of value added against ease and difficulty. And we got the picture that you can see. It just added to the confusion. Where did we start? How did you link the technical digitalization usefully into business systems to get an integrated system? Did we have the skills in-house to put this together? So far, we'd been looking at digitalization, Industry 4.0, the industrial Internet of Things, call it what you will, from the bottom up, from the individual technologies and software packages that abounded. Pause for thought. Perhaps we needed a different approach. So, as a former academic, I decided it was time for application of a bit of theory, even if it was homespun. The finance folks, the bean counters, were already tapping into bespoke but tried and tested ERP software, early days admittedly. Since the bean counters were taking a lead and also paid my wages, best not to try and go against the flow with the money folks. When I was an academic, people did PhDs in BIM, Building Information Modelling. BIM was straight out of academia, so looked a good bet for a theoretical approach. What else was there? Well, digital twins and computer models sounded like not real world, so putting the three together, we came up with the diagram above. This top-down view, this connected view, gave us a lead into joining the technical with the business and commercial systems and a platform from which we could work and develop something that was going to be more useful. ERP we now have in most parts of the business. BIM training is in progress and digital twins are starting to be constructed. We now have all the elements in one place. I need to stick up for the technical people. That's my part of the business. They're the people I work with. And the digital twin is becoming the cornerstone of our technical approach. So scaffold design is now working off 3D models. Insulation and any management are tapping into the same information. We're on the very verge of artificial intelligence and robotics, using models to navigate their progress inside confined entry, a place where our customers would not like us to go with people. DCOM works off 3D models as assets are constructively deconstructed. Mechanical works and engineering are in obvious enhanced use of computer models and remote sensing of moisture detectors or CUI monitoring, wall thicknesses, automated and digital inspection are all starting to feed off digital twins, off graphically and laser developed models. And even ergonomics and behavioral practice. Where are folks? Where are vehicles on site? Often the first question when you go and talk to a supervisor, which is the best route from A to B? If you go on site, the first thing you see is people walking around. Clearly not a value-adding activity. Specking, scoping, planning, estimating and scheduling, also connecting with ERP and the world of BIM, all been starting to be run off models of assets, of digital twins, in a way that we would never have thought possible. This is going to take a while to come up, it seems. So, looking at the whole architecture of the structure, we set about the task from top down, the bigger picture. We based our system around a number of interfacing subsystems, which, though fulfilling different functions, were powerfully interconnected. Iplan replaced a creaking in-house front-end business system, which worked off the sites, off scaffolds, resource and that type of thing. It covered estimating, planning and scheduling of painting and insulation. So we replaced that with Iplan. 4PS is a Microsoft Dynamics styled ERP system for the back office, and that replaced, hard to believe, 7 previous back office systems which derived from the previous entities. Our ICT department served the whole Altrad group, including the rest of Europe, based on the former Hertel UK ICT department. They're a Microsoft house, so certainly no decision to be made there as the sort of protocols we were looking for. A biometric clocking system keeps the site admin folk from spending hours inputting clock card and timesheet returns. Cornerstone maintains training records and competencies which are accessible online to site managers, and iTrent manages HR data, including leave and sickness. Just to summarise it in a way, the wider digitalisation, it's about data. So bids will be coming in before very long on invitations to tender as a model from which we will bid. Ops planning and estimating will work off the same thing. The other stuff we've mentioned, engineering workshops, robotics, but also asset management, something we're increasingly being asked to look at as clients look to minimise their own costs as assets age. So working from an asset model in this type of scenario will be invaluable. The front end, as I mentioned, is Iplan, a product from IamTech. We hope to achieve the front end using the 4PS tailored Microsoft Dynamics ERP software, but it was too complex to be used by operational personnel at site level and too costly to license for over 4,800 users. The solution, IamTech's Iplan software, acts as an interface to the more complex and finance-focused ERP system. It exchanges data with SAP and Primavera and other client systems. It can produce frontline data analytics and dashboards for the use of site managers, and these can be shared with the customer where required. It's partly driven by handheld tablets, reducing the need for estimators returning to cabins with clipboards. Data can be input directly very often. And just in case you think I know anything about it, I would suggest you talk to people at IamTech. They would be happy to speak to you if you want to know more about this. In terms of the back office, 4PS, the words above speak for themselves. It's been game-changing for my business. The transition was undertaken gradually, not without some pain, but it never actually stopped the business or delayed operations. Data is captured at the beginning of the project or contract. It's reused throughout the process. It can be used for estimates and tenders. It can form the project budget, and it can also be used for procurement, cost control, forecasting, and ultimately invoicing. All the data is live. It's shared amongst all authorized stakeholders, including mobile and remote workers. Decisions can be made instantly to maintain targeted margins and planning schedules. An example is a common problem in the business is that hired plant is often still charged for long after it has finished use on site, which means accumulated daily charges. With 4PS, site managers can update the system immediately themselves when plant's finished with, ensuring it's set to off-hire and halt charges immediately. No manual intervention required, bits of paper waiting on people's desks, and all that sort of thing. LogiTime, straightforward. It gives accurate hours collection, back office efficiency, no laborious keying in. It also gives surety of client billing, because on many sites we literally sell hours. It's installed on 3/4 of our sites now. It's been held up a bit by COVID, and it even eliminates hanky-panky being biometric, so no clocking in your mates while you go down the bookies. Laser scanning, to move on to the technical. We've developed our own in-house capability. We can do it ourselves. It's here been used to measure a gap between some complex angle pipe ends. This previously would have been a classic recipe for repeat trips back to the workshop for titivating and for reworking, but we fabricated the spools absolutely right first time and fitted them without any problem whatsoever. That's laser scanning for our own benefit. Following laser scans on behalf of clients, it's been pointed out by customers on more than one occasion that because our folks doing the scanning are steeped in the industry, we get it right first time. Our folks are not coming to site as third-party scanners, having last spent the previous day scanning a road traffic accident. So our folks know what they're looking for, what angles, what shots. We will do it quickly and efficiently. As mentioned above, tablets are replacing paper-based processes, particularly on site. Information can be linked into Iplan work order systems. We're using it for mobile scaffolding inspection, so scaffold inspectors deliver inspections in a fraction of the time. And the one bit that we're not actually doing yet, but we'll be moving to very soon, is automating inspection using visual or laser scanning. So we will be able to augment what we do in terms of the inspection. Attached to the end, we're using Power BI, again, another Microsoft tool. It's used for management reporting, both routine and ad hoc. The same finance director now knows how we make money, and he now knows whether we make more money on one site from another. Worryingly, for one or two site managers, if we do make more money on one site than another, our finance manager is also starting to work out why. So, without exception, I'll bring this to a close. We're moving up to level 1, I think, on Chris's, and perhaps into level 2, and in places into level 3, with a platform to jump further even. The systems and technologies described above are all being used on some site or other parts of the business. None of it is aspirational. It hasn't been rolled out the whole way, but this is what we are now doing. Thank you very much, folks.
Thanks a lot, Paul. And that's really important, because it's all really like nice practical steps. So I think that gives you a lot of good stuff that you can use. Anyway, thank you very much, Paul. We're going to go to our final presentation of the day. So if you move over to Jason Reid from Fuzzy Logic, and he'll explain all about what they're doing in terms of AI, which is a theme already that we've talked about. See you there.